Not everyone who smiles with you walks with you, and not everyone who listens to you wishes you well. In this world of open books and online lives, we've started to believe that sharing everything means being real. We post our joy, our pain, our dreams, and our doubts, hoping someone will understand. But sometimes the more we share, the more we lose. Because not every ear that listens deserves your truth, and not every heart that nods understands your journey. So today, let's talk about something very few people will tell you. Why you shouldn't share your personal life with just anyone. There are moments in life when the heart feels too full to hold its own weight. We ache, we break, and the first instinct is to reach out, to tell someone, anyone, just so the burden feels lighter. It's natural. We are human beings, not stone. But what often happens is this. In our desperate need to be understood, we hand over pieces of ourselves to people who were never meant to carry them. We open the door of our inner world too wide, forgetting that not everyone who enters will clean the floor. Some may leave muddy footprints behind. Peace is like a delicate glass. Once cracked by careless words or judgmental ears, it's hard to make it whole again. The world today encourages expression. Speak your truth, they say. But very few remind you to discern your audience. Not every ear deserves your story, and not every listener will honor your pain. Some people hear you just enough to have something to talk about when you're not around. They don't see your struggle. They see your vulnerability as material for gossip. It's not always out of malice. Sometimes it's just ignorance. But ignorance can wound just as deeply. There's a kind of sacredness in silence. It's not the silence of suppression, but of strength. It's the silence that says, I choose peace over explanation. You see, when your peace becomes your priority, pride takes a back seat. Pride wants to be right, peace just wants to be okay. Pride says, they need to know my side of the story. Peace whispers, let God handle it. Pride reacts, peace reflects. Pride fights to prove, peace lets truth unfold with time. Many of us protect our pride so fiercely that we lose our calm in the process. We defend our image, we explain our intentions, and we overshare just to be understood. But the reality is, those who want to misunderstand you will do so even if you write a book explaining yourself. You can't control perception, only your peace. And sometimes the wisest thing you can do is to walk away quietly, knowing your silence speaks louder than any justification ever could. Think about it. When a river is disturbed, it becomes muddy. But when left undisturbed, it clears on its own. Your mind is the same. When you keep pouring your emotions into too many ears, your peace becomes murky. But when you hold still, when you breathe through the chaos instead of broadcasting it, clarity returns. Protecting your peace means knowing when to speak and when to stay still. It means choosing your confidants with spiritual maturity, not emotional impulse. You'll notice something powerful when you start doing this. The less you speak of your pain, the stronger you become. The less you explain yourself to people, the more peace you retain. Because peace is not about fixing everything outside of you, it's about protecting what's sacred within you. Your mind is a temple. Don't let just anyone walk in with their shoes on. Guard it. Keep it clean, keep it calm. When you stop protecting your pride and start protecting your peace, your energy changes. You become grounded. You start responding instead of reacting. You start healing instead of hurting. And you start realizing that not every conversation deserves your words. Some only deserve your silence. Some moments don't need to be shared. They need to be surrendered to God, to time, to growth. Remember, peace is not found by winning arguments. Peace is found by knowing which arguments aren't worth starting. It's found by knowing that your value doesn't depend on anyone's validation. It's found by understanding that when God knows your truth, you don't need to convince anyone else. The world will always have opinions. Let them. You stay calm, stay kind, stay grounded, because your peace is too precious to be traded for temporary satisfaction. One day, when you look back, you'll realize that the moments you chose silence over reaction were the moments you truly grew. The times you stopped defending yourself and started trusting the process were the times you truly found strength. Protect your peace, my friend, not because the world deserves less of you, but because your soul deserves more of you. Peace is not weakness, it's divine protection. And when you guard it with wisdom, no amount of noise can ever steal it away. It's a quiet truth. Most people learn the hard way. The more someone knows about you, the more they begin to look at you differently. At first, it feels safe, even comforting, to open your heart. You want to be honest, to be seen, to be understood. You share your struggles, your doubts, your dreams. You tell them about your fears, your failures, your moments of weakness. And it feels like relief, like a burden lifted. But slowly, almost quietly, something shifts. The same person who once looked at you with admiration begins to look at you with judgment, or worse, indifference. Because human nature is fragile, and when people know too much, their perception changes. Not because they're bad, not always, but because knowledge changes closeness. When people know your insecurities, some start to test them. When they know your dreams, some start to envy them. And when they know your pain, some use it to measure your worth. You may not notice it right away, the small pauses, the subtle distance, the little changes in tone. But they're there. That's the silent tax of overexposure. There's an old saying, never show the world all your cards. Life is much the same. The more you reveal, the more control others have over your peace. Because what's known can be used, and what's sacred can be wounded. People don't always mean harm, but even carelessness can hurt. The truth is, most people aren't equipped to handle the depth of another's story. They hear your pain through the filter of their own fears. They interpret your honesty through the lens of their insecurities. They take your vulnerability and project their own emotions onto it. And before long, you find that your truth has become distorted in the eyes of others. It's why wise people stay a little private. They share selectively, not secretly. They open doors, not gates. They let others see their strength, but not their entire struggle. Not because they are fake, but because they've learned that privacy is protection. The moment you let everyone into your soul, you give them access to the very place you go to heal. And not everyone deserves to stand there. Think about it. The moon is admired precisely because it never reveals its dark side. It shines beautifully, yet keeps a part of itself unseen. That's wisdom. That's how we should be. Be real, be kind, be open-hearted, but keep something sacred just between you and God. When you do, you preserve your mystery. You preserve your energy. You preserve your power. You see, when people know too much about you, they stop discovering you. Familiarity dulls wonder. It makes others assume they understand your heart when they've only glimpsed a fragment. They stop asking how you are. They think they already know. They stop respecting your silence. They fill it with their assumptions. That's how relationships drift. Not through conflict, but through overexposure. And sometimes the saddest part is realizing that the very things you shared to build closeness are the same things that built distance. You opened your heart, but they couldn't hold it gently. You trusted too much, too soon. You believed that being known would mean being loved. But love isn't built on information. It's built on compassion. It's built on the ability to see someone's flaws and still choose to stay kind. And that kind of love is rare. So protect yourself. Not with walls, but with wisdom. Learn to give people pieces of your truth slowly, as they earn it with consistency and care. Let them see how you move, not everything that moves you. Don't rush to explain every detail of your life. Let your silence hold what your words cannot. Because the more people know about your pain, the easier it becomes for them to reopen wounds that took you years to close. When you keep certain things private, you aren't hiding, you're healing. You're giving your emotions time to mature before they face the world. You're learning to rely less on validation and more on divine understanding. God doesn't need explanations. He already knows the depths of your heart, and He will send the right people, the ones who can hear your silence without needing to pry into your secrets. It's a beautiful kind of peace that comes when you realize not everyone deserves access to your soul. You stop oversharing, you stop over-explaining, you stop trying to make everyone understand you. You simply live quietly, purposefully, peacefully. You start trusting that what others don't know about you can't be used to harm you, and what they do know can't define you. So don't be afraid to hold something back. Keep your sacred spaces sacred. Keep your private battles private. Let people see your light, not your wounds. And when you do share with those who pray for you when you're not in the room. Because the truth is, people change when they know too much. But your peace grows when you learn to stay a little unknown. There comes a time in every person's life when they must decide who truly belongs in their inner circle and who doesn't. We often think that kindness means giving everyone access, letting people walk freely through the doors of our hearts. But wisdom teaches otherwise. Not everyone deserves front row access to your life. Some people are meant to cheer from afar, some are meant to stay as passing visitors, and only a very few, are meant to sit close enough to know your heart. Life is like a grand theater, my friend. Every day you are performing a story, not a fake one, but a real one filled with struggle, grace and growth. Some people in your audience genuinely want to see you rise. They'll clap for your success, cry for your pain, and pray for your peace. These are your keepers. But others, they only watch out of curiosity. They want to see how you'll stumble, what mistakes you'll make, what chapters they can whisper about later. They're not bad, just not meant to sit that close. Yet we often hand them the best seats in our lives and wonder why it hurts when they misuse the view. It's not pride to set boundaries, it's protection. You see, the closer someone sits, the more they see your imperfections, your weaknesses, your vulnerable moments. And while love can handle those things, curiosity cannot. Curiosity doesn't care to understand, it just wants to know. That's the danger of letting the wrong people too close. They'll confuse your transparency for permission, your openness for availability. Many people share everything, their thoughts, their plans, their emotions, just to feel seen. But in doing so, they often give others power over their peace. The wrong person doesn't need to harm you directly to drain your energy, they just need to know too much. When people have front row seats to your life without earning that right, they start to feel entitled to your story. They begin to critique your decisions, question your faith, analyze your choices, as if they bought a ticket to comment on your every move. And soon you realize that your stage feels more like a cage. That's when you need to take a deep breath and reclaim your space. Move some people back a few rows, not with anger but with love. With clarity. You're not rejecting them, you're simply adjusting their distance to protect your peace. You can still wave, smile, and wish them well from afar. But not everyone should hear your rehearsals, your unedited thoughts, your raw moments. Because some people will misunderstand your process and call it chaos. They'll see your temporary struggles and assume it's your permanent state. Only the mature can witness your process and still respect your potential. When you choose who sits in the front row of your life, choose those who bring calm, not chaos. Those who listen more than they speak. Those who don't compete but contribute. Those who want to see you grow, even if your growth takes you farther than them. Those who can keep your secrets sacred, who don't just enjoy your laughter but stand by your silence. And understand this, distance is not disrespect. Sometimes you have to love people from far away, not because they are unworthy, but because they are unsafe for your peace. Your peace is like a garden. Not everyone who admires your flowers should be allowed to plant their seeds there. Some will nurture it, others may trample it, and a few might even poison it without realizing. Guard it gently, guard it with grace. When you learn to live this way, you'll notice something beautiful. Your energy returns. You stop feeling drained by unnecessary conversations. You stop feeling judged by people who don't understand your purpose. You stop chasing approval from those who were never meant to validate you. Instead, your soul feels lighter. Your mind feels clear. You start enjoying the quiet because it's filled with authenticity. And slowly, your circle becomes smaller but stronger. You'll find peace in fewer people but deeper love in the right ones. The noise fades, the drama disappears, and the people who remain, they're not there for the show. They're there for you. So don't be afraid to rearrange your seats. Move out those who bring noise and make room for those who bring peace. Don't let guilt keep you bound to draining relationships. Let go with love, not bitterness. You're not closing doors, you're simply protecting sacred space. Remember, your life is not a public theater, it's a sacred temple. Only those who honor it should be allowed inside. Keep your circle small, your faith strong, and your peace untouchable. Because when you stop giving front row access to the wrong people, you finally make space for God to sit where He always belonged. In the very center of your life, guiding the story, protecting your stage, and giving meaning to every act that unfolds. There's a certain power that silence holds, a power so misunderstood in a world that worships noise. Everywhere we look, people are speaking, posting, proving, defending, explaining. The world has become an echo chamber of opinions, where everyone wants to be heard but few want to listen. Yet in the middle of that noise, there are a few souls who've learned the art of silence, and their peace speaks louder than 1,000 arguments. Silence is not emptiness, it's not withdrawal, it's not a weakness. Silence is wisdom choosing stillness over struggle. It's strength choosing grace over reaction. You see, when we overshare, we dilute our power. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has already made up their mind about you, you're handing over pieces of your peace to a heart that doesn't know what to do with it. You cannot convince the blind to see your light, and you cannot make the deaf hear your truth. The wise understand that sometimes words are not bridges, they are barriers. The more you speak, the more people twist your tone, misread your intention, and project their story onto yours. But silence cannot be misquoted. Silence protects what explanation exposes. There's a story I once heard about a monk who was falsely accused, said of wrongdoing. People in his village mocked him, spread rumors, and questioned his character, yet he said nothing. He continued his prayers, his service, his smile. Months later, the truth came out. The very people who had condemned him came to apologize, and he simply bowed his head and said, "It's okay." When someone asked why he never defended himself, he said softly, "Because truth doesn't need a voice when time will speak louder." That's the essence of silence, not cowardice, but complete faith that time and truth will do what your words cannot. When you choose silence, you are not avoiding confrontation, you are rising above it. You are saying, "My peace is more important than being right in your eyes." And that takes more courage than shouting ever will. It's easy to argue, to justify, to post your side of the story, but it takes strength to trust that God saw what others didn't, and that's enough. In a noisy world, the quiet heart belongs to the wise. Silence also teaches you how to listen, not just to others, but to your own soul. When you stop speaking, you start hearing the voice within, the whisper of intuition, the calm of faith, the gentle reminder that not every battle deserves your sword. Sometimes God fights better in your silence than you ever could with your words. Every time you stay quiet in the face of misunderstanding, you are saying, "Lord, I trust you to reveal what I don't and have to explain." And He does, not always immediately, but always perfectly. Think of silence like a mirror. When you stop reacting, you allow others to see themselves. When you don't fight back, they are left to wrestle with their own conscience. And often, that quiet reflection does more transformation than any argument could. Your calm becomes their lesson. Your silence becomes their mirror. And in that sacred space, peace wins without a single word being spoken. Silence isn't always about others. Sometimes it's about you. Oversharing doesn't just exhaust your words, it drains your spirit. Every time you pour out your story to the wrong ears, you give away the sacred energy meant to heal you. Some things are not meant to be explained to the world. Some wounds are meant to be whispered only in prayer. The heart heals best when it learns to talk more to God than to people. The moments you feel most misunderstood are invitations to draw closer to Him, to let Him be the listener, the comforter, the one who truly knows. In the quiet your faith grows, in the quiet your strength matures. You begin to realize that peace isn't found by speaking louder, it's found by staying still and letting the truth speak for itself. And the truth always does. It may take days, months, even years, but one day the silence you kept will roar louder than all the noise that once tried to drown you. So let the world talk. Let them assume, let them misunderstand. You stay rooted in your calm. The tree never argues with the wind, it simply stands still and outlasts the storm. That's what silence does. It anchors you while everything else is shaking. It teaches you that peace is not the absence of noise, but the ability to remain centered amidst it. Be like the mountain, still, unmoved, strong. Let your calm be your voice. Let your silence speak the story words never could. Because in the end, people will forget what you said, they will twist what they heard, but they will never forget how your peace made them feel. The world doesn't need more words. It needs more souls who know when to speak and when to simply smile. Silence doesn't mean you've given up. It means you've risen above. And in that sacred rise, you don't lose the argument, you win yourself. There is something sacred about the kind of connection that doesn't demand constant explanation. In a world where everyone is trying to be understood, the rarest peace is to be understood without words. True connection doesn't need long paragraphs, repeated clarifications, or daily justifications. It lives quietly between hearts that simply get it. The kind of bond where your silence is heard, your absence is felt, and your soul feels safe even in stillness. You know you've found the right people when you no longer have to perform to be accepted. When you can show up tired, unfiltered, and still be seen with the same love. Those are the souls who see your heart even when your face is calm, who feel your pain even when your mouth stays shut. You can sit with them for hours and say nothing, yet somehow the silence feels like a full conversation. That's the connection. That's understanding. But sadly, not everyone can meet you there. We live in times where many relationships are built on constant explanations. Why didn't you call? Why didn't you post? Why didn't you tell me? You find yourself explaining your heart to people who only listen to your words, not your silence. And slowly that kind of relationship exhausts you. You begin to shrink yourself, always worrying that your quiet moments might be misread as distance. You keep explaining when you're simply healing. You keep talking when your soul just wants peace. True connection doesn't work like that. It doesn't pressure you to speak when you're not ready. It gives you space to breathe and still stands by you as you do. It's patient, it's deep, it's spiritual. It says, I trust your silence as much as I trust your words. And when you find that kind of bond, cherish it like treasure, because it's rare. You can meet thousands of people who will talk to you, but only a few who will truly listen. You can be surrounded by voices and still feel unseen, until one person walks in, says nothing, and yet makes you feel completely understood. That's the difference between communication and connection. Communication is about words, connection is about energy. It's the feeling that doesn't need translation. It's when your heart recognizes another soul and says home. Those are the relationships that don't drain you, they refill you. You don't have to prove anything, you just have to be. You don't have to fight to be heard, because they listen with love, not with ego. And you see, that's how God connects with us too. He doesn't always speak in thunder or signs. Sometimes He just places peace in your heart that says, I'm here. No words, just stillness, just presence. The divine doesn't always explain, it assures. The same is true for divine friendships and relationships. They don't demand explanations for your silence. They respect it. They hold space for you while you find your way through. When someone truly understands you, they don't need to know every detail to care deeply. They sense your mood before you describe it. They offer comfort without asking what went wrong. They don't rush you to open up. They wait patiently, faithfully, lovingly, and in their patience, your heart finds the courage to trust again. But remember, to attract true connection, you must first become comfortable with your own silence. When you understand yourself deeply, you stop needing others to constantly validate or decode you. You stop explaining your peace to people who thrive on chaos. You stop seeking understanding from those who listen only to respond, not to feel. Because when you know who you are, you no longer need to shout it into the world. Your energy begins to speak louder than your explanations ever could. True connection isn't built on constant communication. It's built on consistency, honesty, and empathy. You could go weeks without speaking and still feel close. Because love, when it's real, doesn't need maintenance through noise. It grows quietly through trust. You can't force it. You can't fake it. It's something the soul recognizes long before the mind does. So stop chasing people who need paragraphs to understand your silence. Stop explaining your worth to those who only see your surface. Stop defending your intentions to those who've already decided what to believe. Instead, value those who bring calm to your storms, who offer presence instead of questions, and who remind you that peace is possible in companionship. At the end of the day, the truest form of connection is spiritual. It's not what's spoken, it's what's felt. It's the grace of being loved for your essence, not your effort. It's the gift of being seen without having to be loud. It's knowing that even if the whole world misunderstands you, there are a few souls, maybe only one, who just know. And if you haven't found that kind of connection yet, don't lose heart. Be that soul for someone else. Be the quiet understanding, the calm presence, the gentle listener. Because when you become that for others, God will send it back to you in ways far deeper and purer than you ever imagined. So stop explaining yourself to everyone. The right people don't need proof, they feel your heart. The wrong people won't believe, even with evidence. Save your words for prayer, save your energy for peace, and trust that those meant for your journey will always understand you, even when you say nothing at all. Maturity doesn't arrive the day you turn a certain age. It arrives the moment you stop needing to be understood by everyone. It's the quiet awakening that happens when you realize that not every truth is meant to be told, not every feeling is meant to be shared, and not every pain is meant to be displayed. There comes a time in your life when you understand that healing is a sacred, private process, not a public performance. You stop rushing to reveal your wounds, and instead you start learning how to sit with them, breathe through them, and let them teach you. When we are young, we equate openness with honesty. We think that to be real, we must reveal. We pour our hearts out, thinking the world will hold it with care, but over time, life humbles us. We start to see that not everyone has the capacity to handle our depth. Some will take our vulnerability as weakness, some will twist our truth into gossip, and some will only be there when our pain entertains them. That's when maturity whispers softly, not every story deserves an audience. To be mature is to know when to speak and when to stay still. It's to understand that healing happens in silence, not in the noise of validation, not in the crowd of sympathy. Some things must be taken to God before they're taken to people. Some battles are not meant to be shared but surrendered. The heart grows wiser when it learns to filter what to reveal and what to heal. Because the world doesn't need to know every detail of your journey, only you and God need to walk that path in truth. When you choose what to heal instead of reveal, you give yourself time. Time to understand your pain before explaining it, time to process before projecting, time to strengthen before speaking. You begin to realize that your healing is not a story for applause, it's a sacred conversation between your soul and the divine. You don't owe the world a play-by-play of your recovery. You owe yourself the dignity of quiet transformation. Let your peace be your proof, not your posts. Let your progress be visible through your calm, not your conversations. True maturity is not in how much you share, but in how wisely you choose what not to share. It's found in that pause before you speak, that deep breath before you respond, that gentle restraint that says, I no longer need to explain my peace. It's realizing that not every emotion deserves an audience. Not every misunderstanding deserves clarification, and not every hurt deserves revenge. Maturity doesn't shout, it prays. It doesn't argue, it understands. It doesn't expose, it elevates. There's a quiet power in keeping certain things between you and God, because when you talk to Him, you're not venting, you're being restored. You don't need to translate your feelings, He already knows. You don't need to fear judgment. He already forgave. There's no need to perform, pretend, or prove. Just presence, just honesty, just surrender. That's where true healing begins. Not in telling the world what you're going through, but in trusting that the one who made you will guide you through it. And slowly, your silence becomes sacred. You stop needing closure from others because you found it within. You stop needing apologies because peace has replaced pain. You stop needing people to understand your past because your growth has rewritten your story. You become gentler, softer, but stronger, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started caring in wiser ways. There's beauty in the unseen healing. The world may not know what you've endured, but it will see the light that came from it. It will see the grace in your patience, the faith in your calm, the strength in your quiet. You don't have to tell everyone how you changed. Your peace will tell them for you. You don't have to prove how far you've come. Your energy will show it. You don't have to explain why you're silent. Your stillness will speak volumes. Maturity is knowing that not every scar needs to be shown to be honored. Some are meant to stay hidden beneath the armor of gratitude, reminders not of pain, but of perseverance. When you choose what to heal and what to reveal, you take control of your narrative. You stop living as an open book for others to interpret, and you start writing your story with God as your co-author. The pages become private, but the peace becomes public. The noise fades, but the wisdom remains. So, my dear friend, don't feel guilty for staying quiet about what hurts. You're not hiding, you're healing. You're not distant, you're discerning. The deepest growth often happens in the dark, unseen by the world, but nurtured by God. One day, when the time is right, you look back and realize that your silence wasn't emptiness. It was a sacred space where God rewrote your story with grace. And that's what maturity truly is. Not knowing more, but needing less. Needing fewer explanations, fewer validations, fewer witnesses, just faith, just peace, just you and God walking quietly through the lessons of life, healing what must be healed and revealing only what brings light to the world. There comes a time in every soul's journey when human words fail to heal, when even the most sincere advice feels shallow, when you realize that no matter how much you share, no one truly understands the weight you carry. That's the moment when your heart whispers the truth you've been avoiding. Not everyone can be your confidant, because there are corners of your soul only God is meant to see. We live in an age where it's easy to talk, where silence feels strange and sharing feels safe. We post our pain, we text our thoughts, we tell our secrets to people who smile today but may judge tomorrow. And each time we do, something sacred inside us leaks away. Our power, our peace, our privacy. But when you learn to turn inward, when you begin to speak to God more than the crowd, something begins to shift. Your wounds stop feeling like punishments and start feeling like prayers. Your tears stop needing explanations because you know the one who counts each one. You stop seeking understanding from people who only hear your words and start finding comfort in the one who hears your silence. God listens differently. He doesn't interrupt, He doesn't gossip, He doesn't forget. When you talk to Him, you don't have to make sense. You just have to be sincere. He reads the words behind your sighs, the meanings behind your pauses, the emotions behind your tears. You don't have to explain what hurts. He already knows. You don't have to defend yourself. He already understands. And you don't have to fear being misunderstood. He made you. When you let God be your confidant, you start living lighter. You stop seeking validation from people who can't carry your truth. You stop rehearsing your pain for an audience that's not meant to heal it. Because what's meant for divine ears should never be wasted on careless tongues. God's presence becomes your refuge. His listening becomes your therapy. His silence becomes your reassurance. There's something deeply peaceful about learning to pray instead of complain. The same energy you once used to explain yourself to people who never really cared, you now use to talk to the one who always does. That's when everything changes. Not because the problem disappears, but because the burden lifts. You stop feeling alone, even in solitude. You stop feeling unseen, even in silence. You start realizing that God doesn't always fix the situation. Sometimes He just strengthens your spirit to walk through it. When you speak to God, you're not venting into the void. You're handing over your chaos to the one who can create order out of dust. You're saying, Lord, I don't know how to carry this anymore, so I'll let you. And in that surrender, you find serenity. You stop overthinking the opinions of people who don't even pray for you and start trusting the plans of the one who never stops loving you. You see, the crowd is loud. They'll tell you what to do, who to be, how to feel. But God whispers. His voice is gentle, steady, patient. He doesn't demand attention, He waits for invitation. The crowd needs your performance. God only wants your presence. The crowd asks for perfection. God embraces your brokenness. The crowd loves your highlight reel. God loves your hidden scars. Letting God be your confidant means you no longer fear being alone. Because solitude with Him isn't emptiness, it's intimacy. It's the sacred space where your fears dissolve and your faith strengthens. It's where you cry freely, knowing your tears are prayers that angels translate. It's where you stop asking, why me? And start saying, with you, I can. There will be moments when you'll feel tempted to call someone just to release what's inside you. But pause. Before you reach for your phone, reach for your heart, whisper His name. Tell Him what hurts, what confuses you, what scares you. And then wait, not for a voice from heaven, but for peace, because that's how He answers. He doesn't always speak through sound, He speaks through calm, He speaks through clarity, He speaks through the sudden courage that wasn't there before. The truth is, no one can carry the weight of your soul except the one who created it. People can comfort you, yes, but only God can complete you. They can guide you, but only He can ground you. They can listen, but only He can heal. That's why the more you talk to Him, the less you need to explain yourself to others. Your confidence shifts, your spirit steadies, your peace deepens. You realize you're no longer surviving life, you're walking with grace through it. So stop handing your heart to temporary people and expecting eternal understanding. Stop sharing your sacred journey with those who haven't earned the right to hear it. Start building a secret place with God, a space where no judgment enters, no noise intrudes, and no mask is needed. Talk to Him like you would to your closest friend. Cry, laugh, question, thank, but always return. Because in that quiet connection, He will do what no human ever could: listen completely, love unconditionally, and lead you gently back to peace. When you let God become your confidant, you don't lose people, you gain perspective. You realize that your story isn't meant to be told to everyone, only lived faithfully before Him. Because when God knows your heart, you don't need the crowd's approval. When God carries your pain, you don't need the world's sympathy. And when God becomes your confidant, you finally stop searching because you found your home. My friend, protect your story, guard your heart, and keep your peace sacred. You don't owe the world your pain, you owe God your trust. Don't let noise steal your clarity or people steal your purpose. Remember this always: the more you share with the crowd, the emptier you feel. But the more you share with God, the fuller you become. For He is not just listening, He is leading. And when you walk with Him, even your silence becomes a prayer, and even your tears become light. My dear friend, in a world where everyone is shouting to be seen, dare to walk quietly with God. Learn to live a little more privately, to protect what's sacred, and to speak only when your words can bring peace. You don't have to share every thought to be understood, and you don't have to prove your heart to be believed. The same God who watches your silence also writes your story, patiently, perfectly, and purposefully. One day, you'll look back and realize that your quiet seasons were not empty, they were holy. They were the moments when God was strengthening your roots before showing your fruit. He was teaching you to stop explaining and start trusting, to stop chasing attention and start seeking alignment, to stop pouring your heart into temporary ears and start resting it in His eternal hands. So protect your peace, guard your story, speak less, pray more, and let your calm become your testimony. Don't be afraid to be private. Even Jesus withdrew to the mountains to pray alone. Solitude is not loneliness, it is a sacred connection. It is where your faith grows deeper, your wisdom grows stronger, and your spirit grows still. And when people wonder why you've grown quieter, smile gently and say, I'm learning that peace doesn't need an audience. Because in the end, the less you share with the world, the more God shares with your soul. And that, my friend, is the secret to a life full of calm, clarity, and divine strength. Not being known by everyone, but being guided by the one who truly knows you.